Celtic head to the Highlands this weekend for Matchday 22 of this season's Scottish Premiership. But as the title of this show suggests, is the title already over following Rangers' continual failings that we seen again last night as they drew with Dundee? Paddy, Celtic showing all of that stuff, but it's a relevant question. Is it done and dusted?
I think so now, yeah. I think, listen, there'll be fans out there that will still say we need to kind of do our thing and let them just carry on as they are. I think we've done our thing. I think the manner in which we've approached this season and how we've played in every game, bar one, has been exceptional. So it's the credit, and listen, it is a downfall from them. It seems to be an absolute implosion from them. But for us, we've put that pressure on from the very get-go, and we've been relentless for the first half of the season. So a really nice moment for us as fans to kind of obviously acknowledge where we're at, what we expect from the team. Again, we're coming into a busy couple of weeks, and even more so now just to maybe even tinker with the team a little bit in terms of that big game against Young Boys coming up.
This is exactly, I was just about to ask that. So not at any point to take the foot off the gas. Brendan Rodgers won't allow it, nor should he. And as I say, we're just asking the question, from a fan point of view. But there's a balancing act to be spun here by the manager, because I was going to say all of a sudden, it's not all of a sudden. For a number of weeks now, we've known that this game against Young Boys on the 22nd of January, it's our biggest game in some time. There's no other way to dress it up, because a win there, I was going to say just about, it does guarantee you, I think, getting through to these knockout stages. And that's huge for Celtic. And we need to be frank and accept that our failings in Europe have been there for all to see in recent years. So to step into this new format and make progress at the first time of asking would be a huge achievement.
It really would. And I think, listen, we've had some really strong performances, bar the Dortmund game. I think we've done really well in Europe. So much so that there was real disappointment when we didn't win against Club Brugge at Celtic Park. But I still think that we were up against a very well organised team. Not a team that was going to come and beat us by any means, but a team that really got us thinking about the different levels that we're playing at, and why we should be so proud of how well we've done in Europe this season. I think for me, you look at where we're at now. We've built such momentum. We've got a bit of confidence in this competition now, considering where we're sitting. And to be in the position to go and try and qualify for the playoffs, at least, with 2 games to go, is absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
it's a great position to be in. So we're less than 2 weeks out from that game now. Can't remember, I think it's on the Wednesday, is it? Yes, the Wednesday. So a week on Wednesday coming. So, and we'll catch all the big build-up and stuff ahead of that. And in the meantime, Celtic have got more games to contend with. I've mentioned a few times now that there's 9 games in total in the month of January. We're 3 through them at the moment. And as we know now, we're 15 points clear at the top of the table. A few good comments coming in. Thanks as always to everyone that continues to join us. Remember, if you're watching on the live and want to comment here on the live stream, you do need to be a member of the channel. Link to do so is in the show notes. You can follow the likes of Sean, San Fran Celtic, Pat McLaughlin, Eugene Ritchie and Gypsy King, who are here at the moment, amongst others. And a comment from Eugene, who's basically saying, no tinkering tomorrow, please. And I get that, because it's tempting, and I've made the suggestion there that you might want to, I don't know, rest Nicolas Kuhn if he's fit. Of course, we'll get to that. You rest Adize and Maeda, keep Carter Vickers fresh, keep Alistair Johnson fit and available, all these things. But you can also disrupt the flow with that. And it's a tricky game for the manager, isn't it? He's got some calls to make.
Yeah, it is. And I think it'll be a difficult game up in Dingwall tomorrow. I think it's going to be a cold one. No matter where you're put in the country, to be honest, if you look out your side of the window today. But I think we look at the next 2 games, 2 away games. He will want to make sure that he's getting the rotation right, and he will be looking at that game next week against Kilmarnock in the Scottish Cup as well, which is such an important game for us. I said to the guys the other night in the group chat, like, just looking at the way we're kind of ticking over a little bit, we've seen a lot more from the midfield, and actually I felt that we, on the game against Dundee United, we pressed higher up the park than I've seen us do in a long time. Actually, probably the last time I'd seen us play so high up was before Dortmund. So it was almost like reverting back to the tactics of the first part of the season. where they're bringing our back line over the halfway line for the majority of the game. And I don't think we're too far away from maybe taking high numbers off a team again. And I'm not saying that's the expectancy. I just think that when you look at how we were playing against Dundee United, the way we were moving the ball about, I don't think we're too far away. And I wonder if he's kind of shaping that up for potentially the Kilmarnock game. And we see how we go in that way.
Yeah, there's a possibility of that. I mean, folks and ourselves have seen that Celtic continue, generally speaking, to win games of football. We lost at Ibrox, poor day and all that stuff. We've gone over that and then some. But generally speaking, we're winning games of football and making progress. But I think it's fair to say we've not been doing so in the same style as earlier parts of the season. We speak about, or I've certainly spoken about that early November period, which saw the win over Aberdeen in the semi, the win over Leipzig, and a few other performances as well. You cannot be at that level throughout a season. But I think to your point, there's indications, first half against Dundee United particularly, that we may well be getting back to those levels. And that's naturally how it would be. You can't stay up here. You need to kind of dip and kind of just get through the motions of a season as such. But I think we've got the players available to us. We might well add to that, and we'll see what the rest of the month brings. You've got a manager that knows what he's doing. And I've said before, Paddy, I've no doubt that following the painful defeat at Ibrox, and it was painful, the manager and his backroom staff will absolutely have gone back to the drawing board and had various meetings and discussions about how to counter that. Celtic won't roll up against Rangers. We're at home in the next one, aren't we, in March? But Celtic will find the solution. I've got full belief that Brendan Rodgers will find the solution there. But I do think there's a bit of encouragement that we might get back to the free-flowing football we've enjoyed this season so far.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree on that, Tino. And it's what I'm kind of meaning with my points in terms of how we were playing before Dortmund. It wouldn't take much for us to really look into it and think that he has kind of pulled his back a little bit in order just to use the games in the league, albeit we need to go and win these games, but use the games in the league to get used to a different kind of system and how we approach the games in Europe. I think very professional displays against Bruges and Zagreb, albeit a lot of questions having to be asked in the games against Rangers with the goals we conceded. But I do think that there is an element of he has pulled the position of the system back into our half a little bit more than anything. And I think that actually we've seen that the fans are wanting a bit more in the attacking front. And I think when watching us against the United, we seem much more higher up the park, and that's the full 10 outfield players that I'm talking about. So I'm excited. I hope it would try the same tomorrow against Ross County and definitely against Dundee on Tuesday, because I think when we do that, teams that we should be beating, they find it too much to contain.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how he tinkers the system. I agree with Eugene's point about not making too many changes to the lineup, but I think we'll see subtle, and maybe it's the kind of changes, Paddy, that we as regular fans, we know a bit, but not everything. We might not even see. To the untrained eye, you might think, oh, hold on a minute, and then you realise, or somebody smarter than us in a football sense may say, look at the position of Engels, he's 5 yards further forward, Carter Vickers is taking it in a higher area, something like that. There'll be subtle changes to the system, I'm sure, and I think we'll see the benefits of that moving forward. Some interesting stats from Pat McLaughlin. Pat saying that Celtic have only conceded goals at home in the league to one team, and it was Aberdeen in that 2-2 draw. That's incredible. The home form has been exceptional. Yeah. And the away form's not been too bad. You can include the Ibrox game, as such, but there's only 7 league goals conceded in the 21 games so far. Further stat from Pat, he said we've conceded more goals at home in 2 League Cup matches than we have in all our home league games. So that's the Falkirk game, and you can remind me, Paddy, of who else we played in the League Cup.
Hibs.
What was it, 3-1? Something like that.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. So home form is exceptional, but we're now on the road, and Gypsy King says 2 hard away games. We've got Ross County who are playing well, and we'll get to them in a minute, Paddy. Following 4 straight losses in the league, they've now had 3 wins and a draw in their last 4. That's quite the turnaround. And we know we've got Dundee, and Dundee will be buoyant after their decent result. Is it a decent result? Should they have won it? 2 drop points for Dundee.
They should have won it. I actually do think they should have won it. And I think I loved Tony Docherty's post-match interview where he said the same. He was sort of pretty disappointed we've not come away with the win. How that goal stood last night and it wasn't a penalty is a big one for me. And I've seen different different statements on it and whether or not it should be. For me, there's at least even 3 fouls, and I know that that's not the main thing for VAR to pull back, but there's at least 3 fouls in the build-up to that potential penalty shout, and I actually think it is a penalty.
Yeah, do you know, at first I didn't. I was looking for the push, and I thought, it's not light. It's the stand on the foot, isn't it?
It's a stand on the foot, but also it's the 2 arms in the back of the shoulder as well. You have no right to put your body in with that, and you're trying to put your opponent off. You've basically obstructed them from moving on to their next bit of play, so it's a penalty for me.
Yeah, I think the term that's been bandied around, Paddy, is patterns of assistance. So it's interesting to see. I'm sure Willie Collum will clear it all up in due course. Paddy, back to this one. As I say, you've got a Ross County in good form, but Celtic, as we know, continue to be very professional. We're just ploughing through games. The record as it stands, for anyone who's not up to speed on it, played 21 league games now, won 18, drawn 2 and lost just once. We got 56 points in that time and a goal difference of plus 50 goal difference after 21 games. So we're in good form. It could make for a good game, but it really depends on what Ross County want to do. There's a suggestion that they'll be industrial, they'll miss out the midfield and go long and direct. Is that what you see from them, or do you think that Don Cowie might try to mix it up a wee bit?
I think a lot of the teams see these games against, more so just Celtic now, but they see the games against the top 2 in the league as free hits. So a lot of them can probably say, listen, if you can get a point out of it, then that's an incredible result. I think with how they are playing, they will make sure that they want to lock things up a bit tighter. You don't want to go and go down 2-3, 4-0 against Celtic and affect your confidence on what is a good run for them. Brilliant fact on BBC Sports live feed last night. Someone had said that up until Boxing Day, Ross County hadn't won an away game this season. They've now had 12 points away from home, 1 point less than what Rangers have achieved this so far this season as well. So it goes to show that they have had a massive turnaround in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I think Cowie will be probably a little bit more conservative going up against us, and I think they'll make it a tough game for us tomorrow, no doubt.
Yeah, of those stats, I heard just a ludicrous call. I seen the clip, a ludicrous call, and it's Super Scoreboard, and it was a Rangers fan talking about Celtic's away form isn't that great either, and Gordon Duncan or whoever it was challenged him on that, and he's like, I'm not talking about September, October, November. You can forget that. I'm just talking about the last few games.
That's in the past.
Exactly that. In this current season, that's to be dismissed. Celtic's tally for away points, I think, is 25 points out of 30 games. So we've played 10 away games, picked up 25 points. Rangers have played 11 away from home and picked up 13 points. Yeah. If your man making the call can't work that out, then we can't help him. But therein lies one of many differences between the two sides. But in terms of how we're going to shape up, as we say, I wouldn't like to see too many changes, and I don't foresee too many. Just want to ask you first of all about the number one, though, Kasper Schmeichel. You'll have seen the stat. I repeated it last night when chatting to Brido. Of those 21 league games, he's kept 17 clean sheets. I don't know the record, and I'll dig that out. I dare say a Fraser Foster might be there or thereabouts. He had a clean sheet thing going on for a time, didn't he?
Yeah,
and I'll check. 13 on the bounce, was it?
Mm-hmm.
I was there the night it got broken at Pittodrie.
Yeah,
I think
Johnny Hayes with a screamer.
And Virgil van Dijk gets sent off, I'm sure. I think we eventually lost 2-1. But yeah, so there's a pride there. I've said this a lot. The clean sheet thing's important. Winning games, first and foremost, is the job. And if you have to win 4-3, 5-4, 6-2, whatever, then get the win first and foremost. But it's clear that the team are winning and taking pride in this clean sheet. There's guys, at 2-0 against Dundee United, there was a great challenge by Carter Vickers. He's just thrown his body at one in the box. You know, it's caught him in the midriff somewhere. And there's a real desire by the back four and the goalie to shut the door. And I've said it before, and you know, for want of repeating myself, Kasper Schmeichel, as a goalie and as your first footballer at the back, he's got such an important part to play. He's been phenomenal, hasn't he?
He has. He's filled the gloves and then some of Joe Hart. I think, you know, it's been an incredible partnership that he's formed already with the back line. Whether it's Liam Scales or Austin Trusty and Cameron Carter Vickers in front of him, it's his area. I think it's his whole back line, it's his domain, and he's the one instructing the guys what to do. I think if I've seen a few comments about potential player of the years at the halfway mark. And his name is right up there in the sense that, yes, he might have a few games where he's not got a lot to do, but he's still standing up at the right moments and he's still making sure that he gets his clean sheet. But the organisation of his backline in a defensive manner has been absolutely brilliant. And I think you can see from the very get-go, the minute he gets his a goal kick, they're very quick to get into position. And I would say even more so than what they were under Joe Hart. And no disrespect to Joe Hart, it's probably just been a different setup with him. But Kasper Schmeichel knows where he wants his players and he knows where he's going to distribute the ball. And he's very comfortable in playing the pass, very comfortable in playing it long as well. So if you are any player in that team, you get into position for Kasper Schmeichel because he's going to put it to you if you want it.
Absolutely, but his distribution is exceptional, and it's in a variety of ways. It can be overarm throws, it can be a kick off the deck, it can be a kind of half-volleyed punt. He's got a whole range of distribution techniques, and 9 times out of 10 he's finding his players and starting quick attacks. I note the point you make about as soon as he gets the ball, everyone snaps into position. I think it's something that's really apparent. And actually, I remember you and I watched the B team playing UEFA Youth League at the start of the season against Slovan Bratislava. We were at that game at Leicester Hampden. The same thing's happening there. The moment the goalie and the guys at the back of the ball, you see 8-9 guys snap into position, whether it's wingers high and wide, midfielders tucking in. Everyone is very well drilled, and obviously the B team generally follow the pattern of the A team. And it's just good to see because it's easy when the ball goes out of play. Traditionally, when the ball goes out of play, and if you watch football back in the day, that's when guys take a breather, pull their socks up, I don't know, fix their hair, whatever these guys do. Celtic players' first instinct is, I need to get in position because this ball will be back. It is pretty sharp. And I think that's one of a number of really importantly drilled techniques by the manager. Kasper Schmeichel, as you say, he'll definitely be in the conversation for Player of the Year, and rightly so. It should, and in all likelihood, will go to Nicolas Kuhn, given what he's turning out. But there's certainly no debate, in my opinion. And Pat, again, confirms it here that Kasper Schmeichel is our best signing of the summer. Celtic made a couple of key additions, but to get him for nothing, obviously the manager's contacts have played their part there, and you can debate, is that the right way to scout a goalkeeper? If you know a guy, trust a guy, and are sure that he can come and do a job for you, then it's a smart piece of business, and it's just the manager using his network.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, if you listen to the early shows when we announced him, I wasn't too happy. It wasn't that I wasn't happy about Kasper Schmeichel signing. I knew he was bringing bags of experience, but for a club with the narrative of spend a less amount, get a young prospect in, hopefully build them up and then sell, I think that that's the model that Celtic has been for a long time, and it just felt as if it was all very lazy from us, and that was the bit concerning me the most. I did have concerns if he maybe peaked a little bit when he finished at Leicester, and then I think didn't really have a great season in France. Well, not a bad season, but not a brilliant season. And then same with Anderlecht, he'd done well for them, but I think the fact that he was only getting those 1-year deals and then looking to move on straight after, it wasn't filling me with too much confidence. Maybe that it was just coming to an end for him, but I'm so happy to be proven wrong on that as well. I just think it's been a joy to watch, and I think if we do progress into the playoffs in Europe, I think he'll be even bigger for us, because he might not always be playing at that level in his career when he was down south, but I think his international experience is going to come in really handy, and just the level that he's played at with Denmark. And just he looks like a winner. And I think that he's found a club that's maybe finally matched his mentality in terms of playing to the final whistle, playing to win every game. And I think that he's enjoying the pressure of it and he's thriving under it. So just a great signing, absolutely brilliant signing.
Yeah, spot on. We've seen a few interviews. There was one that him and his dad done on, was it CBS, with Micah Richards and all that stuff, and Jamie Carragher. There's another one that they go on the Fozcast, Ben Foster podcast, just raving about life at Celtic and clear to see. And I also think his confidence and his character and his personality gives that confidence to the guys in front of him. I think he's been a phenomenal signing, phenomenal addition. And we've raved about Joe Hart. Joe Hart was brilliant for Celtic. This is an upgrade, and it's brilliant to see, and it could have a massive impact on what we're going to do in Europe, Paddy. Let's get back to where we're at in terms of the Ross County game and what we think we'll see. Defensively, we'll not dwell on this. I think, generally speaking, at the moment, subject to change. Alistair Johnson starts at right back, and Taylor again seems to have cemented left back, despite a lot of noise about Greg Taylor, but credit to him just getting the head down. Played a decent game the other night, actually, getting the head down and just doing his job.
Yeah.
In the middle, it's any 2 from 3. It's Carter Vickers and Trusty just now. Liam Scales may or may not come back in. Not too fussed about what he does there at Ross County. Any 2 of those 3 are capable. The midfield continues to be a question mark, and a fairly positive question mark for Celtic, Paddy. There's ongoing chat about, whether or not we should potentially rest Callum McGregor at times like this ahead of such an important game against young boys. Arne Engels has absolutely found his feet and continues to impress. He's got 4 man of the matches in a row at Celtic Park. You've got Luke McCowan looking lively and busy. We know he's got something to offer. Paolo Bernardo's a bit of a fan's favourite at this moment in time. Rio Hatate, inconsistent and frustrating as he can be, is also capable of brilliance. What do you think we'll see? Obviously, different to Celtic Park and the wide, expansive surface. You've got a tighter park up there. It's going to be cold. We're heading up, Paddy, so I'm sure you're going to get your thermals dug out after this, but it's going to be a different challenge and maybe a different midfield required. What 3 do you think we'll see? I
think we'll see the same. I actually think we won't change it. I think he's been really, really happy with the work of Engels, McCowan and McGregor, and I think that we are coming into probably the next 2 weeks where we'll maybe just start to get an idea of what the starting 11 is going to be like against young boys and what the starting 11 is going to be like against Kilmarnock on Saturday. It's those three that they need to be upset, in my opinion. I think they've played well in the last 2 games. So Bernardo and Hatate, when they come on, they need to make that impression. And well done, Hatate, grabbing his goal the other night, absolutely. But I think he's still got a bit to go to get the jersey back.
So McGregor, Engels, McCowan, same starting 3 for you?
Same 3 for me, yeah.
What are you seeing different from Arne Engels? The manager, I think, has played it pretty well with him. He took him out the firing line at a time when he was getting a wee bit of flack, dipped him in and out here and there. Sometimes he was only getting 5-10 minutes. It wasn't like he was getting the full 30 minutes, when the manager makes his changes in the hour mark. He's been quite careful with him. We've talked a lot about the fact that he's only just turned 21. But what are you seeing different now from Arne Engels?
I think he's getting up to the pace of the game more than anything, Tino. I think he's allowing himself just that time and understanding that, it can be a bit frantic in the Scottish League, and sometimes it just looks as if he, in his opening part of the season, he was just maybe that yard off the pace of it, which is natural for so many players. But I loved Callum McGregor's comments about him, like he's come in with that £11 million fee. There's a reason for that. There's a reason, he's going to be a very good player for us. Also enjoying him in the left-hand side of the midfield. I seem to see him coming into that more where you would see Hatate or Bernardo sometimes. And I think that for him taking the ball in off the likes of McGregor, his head is up straight away for potential runs from Maeda, but what he's very comfortable at is turning into the middle of the park and spraying it out to the right as well. And his range of passing, that's what we're going to start seeing in the next few weeks as well. I think we can see what he can do and bringing other players into the play, but I think what we want to now see is the killer pass. And I think when you see him in specific areas outside the box, he's got that. But I'd like to see that more from the middle of the park, from the halfway line. I think that's once you unlock that from Arne Engels, you're going to get a complete player.
Yeah, and what we are seeing is as his confidence grows, and why shouldn't it after 4 impressive home performances, he's trying more things. He's more adventurous with his passing, and I think it's right if you're in a team and you're a wee bit out of sorts, a bit out of form, just first and foremost do the basics and do them well. Make your short passes, link things up, get stuck into your tackles, work hard. All these kind of fundamentals, if you like. But then as you start to kind of find your feet again and regain your confidence, try that pass, try that shot, make that effort. And I think you can actually see it. I don't know how many shots he had against United the other night, but there was several. And although he was unlucky not to find the back of the net, he's taken shots that he wouldn't have otherwise. And I've mentioned to you, I wasn't sure, I couldn't remember that he'd scored a goal in open play against Hibs. He opened the scoring against them a number of weeks ago. But that aside, it's been penalty goals. And I think one of these efforts from Rangers is going to go in and it'll just unlock Arne Engels, and we'll see a lot a lot more from him, even more so than we've seen in recent weeks. And I think you've watched the interview with him and Callum McGregor after the United game. It's good. You know, the captain, he's very clever about it. Callum McGregor's very experienced, and he's standing, right next to Arne Engels, but talking him up and saying all these things. And Engels is he's actually quite a quiet and unassuming looking kind of guy, but you can see him sitting there, like, you can almost see his face lighting up at the kind of, credit he's getting. And then McGregor keeps him in check at the end with a wee jibe about, in fact, I think it's Arnie's dad that's picking his man of the match. He's something like that. But there's a good thing going on there. And I think Engels is really starting to shine. Paddy, up top, I suppose there's ongoing questions. The Kyogo thing, I think we thought we'd put the brakes on that. I don't know if we have. There's chat about whether he might go or not. I said to Bridal last night, and I'd be keen for your own thoughts on it. We can't sign anybody for the young boys or Villa games. You don't have that option. So if you lose your striker before that, then you've got one recognised striker in Adam Ida and a backup striker in the shape of Dyson Maeda. It would seem crazy for Celtic to let him go, but he's 30 a week on Monday. If a crazy offer comes in, do the club have to consider that? What do you think?
They have to consider it, but I don't think it goes before those games. Whether the chat is that he'll play them, see what he can do to get us through to the next rounds. It makes complete sense for him. I totally understand one final stab at it over in the MLS. He'll probably double his wage. Of what he's getting here. With the chat, obviously that article read that he was going to be a designated player. That allows them a higher wage band over in America. So I think it's looking very likely that he will go. I will be gutted to lose him. I really will. It's been an absolute joy watching him, but I don't think Celtic will sell him before those two big games. And I think there's no rush at the moment. Obviously, Atlanta will want him there as soon as possible, but their season doesn't start until March. Their pre-season doesn't start till mid-February. He's fit, he's playing already, so I don't think we're under any pressure at the moment, no.
Do you think we secure qualification against young boys, give him his swan song against Villa and let him sail off into the sunset?
Absolutely. And that's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is that it's not true and he maybe goes to them in the summer. But I wish him nothing but the best, whatever happens.
100%. And I think I'd be very hopeful and keen to keep Kyogo till the summer at least. And at that point, you can sit down and review. As I say, he'll be 30 by that point, and he might just be weighing up his options. And the good thing is, and again, it's continuing smart business by the club, they secured him on a long-term deal. I think he's tied up 2027, maybe even 28, but we've got that locked in anyway. So if he does go, it won't be in the cheap, and the club generally have played that pretty well. So whether he starts up in the Highlands or not is a question, Paddy, because a lot of folk are questioning where Adam Ida is at this moment in time. I said to Bridal, I thought he linked up fairly well again the other night, but he doesn't get his goal. And as harsh as it sounds, number 9s will always be judged on their goals, and he's not grabbing them at this moment in time. So I don't know where he's at confidence-wise. Again, when his number goes up on the board, shoulder slump, the gloves come off, and he just seems a wee bit despondent. What do you think? Do you give him another chance tomorrow? It might be a game again that suits him.
Of course you give him another chance, but for me, I think I look at the quality of the ball going into the box the other night, and I think someone had actually said it in the group, the chances that Kyogo may have tucked away if he was on the park. But then I suppose there's games where you see, Adam Ida would have got to that. I think for Ida, I think he's not there yet. He's not there in what he needs to do to be this number 1 striker. And that's the goal for him. And I think, listen, when you're coming off the bench for 20, 30 minutes, getting the odd start here or there, that's extremely difficult to ask of a player to try and bring that consistency. And there's one person that will be very patient with Adam Ida, and it's Brendan Rodgers. I still think there's a lot to come from him. I still think that there's a very good player there. And I do think we will see him. The other thing I've been thinking about with Celtic at the moment, and there's a lot of fans that have said, we're not seeing the same numbers from Kyogo, we're not seeing the same quality from him like we did under Ange. The system has changed so much that it's more suited to just an all-round attacking display from our two wingers and even our midfielders. You look at how wide the goals are. And you look at, obviously, you look at Maeda's goal return this season, you look at Nicolas Kuhn's goal return this season. That goes to show the difference in how we're approaching the game and how we're attacking. So the system may not be suited to him, but it may not be suited to any number 9 in that sense. The position's there, the position needs to be there, and what they do to put pressure on to back fours. But I also think that there's an element of the work that Ida or Kyogo does unlocks the space for Dyson Maeda and Nicolas Kuhn to go in, who are very comfortable finishers of the ball as well. So I don't think it's much of you've got a target man. I think it's almost a bit of a false 9 that we play with.
You took the modern term right out of my mouth there, Paddy. I think it exactly is a false 9, because what you've got is, traditionally teams, even in recent years, I'm not harking back to the 80s and 90s and stuff, your centre forward is the focal point of your attack, and whatever else you do in the build-up, you're relying on your number 9 to get on the end of things and, create chances out of nothing and all that kind of stuff. I know Kyogo's got that in his locker, but you made the very relevant point about the goal returns this season. You've got Kuhn out on the right-hand side with 16 goals, Maeda on the left-hand side with 14, so there's 30 goals right off the bat, and it's only January. Kyogo, by comparison, I think he's got 8. So it tells you that the goals are coming for these wide forwards, and that's what Brendan Rodgers describes them as, not as wingers, as wide forwards. And it's clear that that's the way he plays. And maybe a guy like Kyogo and Adam Ida and anyone else that comes in to play number 9 for Celtic, it doesn't quite work for you because you've made a career in 11 out of scoring goals. That Adam Ida gets a move to Celtic because he's a goal scorer.
Yeah.
And there may well be a frustration for these guys. Just into the comments, Paddy, a big thanks to Brown Warrior 119, who's made a contribution. Thanks to him for that. And he makes the comment that we need to sign a proven European level finisher. Maybe, but does a guy want to come here? Does a 25-goal, 30-goal striker want to come here and turn into a 10-goal striker? It's quite a unique proposition, and that's where Brendan Rodgers and Paul Tisdale and these guys will be working hard to identify the guy who's got the right skill set and temperament to come in and play that role. Also good to see Stevie Stafford here in the comments, and Kevin McKenna, who's also become a new member. So thanks, guys, for your continuing support. There's a question there from Kevin just asking any news about Nicolas Kuhn. Nothing I've heard yet, Paddy, and the manager's press conference will take place later today. Yeah. If it were my call, and it's absolutely not, I'd be fully inclined to leave Nicolas Kuhn out the picture altogether, even if he feels fine and doesn't think it's anything to worry about. There is no need to risk him, given what lies ahead. We're away to Dundee on, let me get this, Tuesday of next week. We then get that Kilmarnock game in the Scottish Cup, then it's young boys. Celtic don't need to rush the issue, and if it's a muscle strain, which it seemed to be, like something at the top of his thigh, not sure a cold day in Dingwall does him any favours. So we'll see what the changes are there. That aside, Paddy, the wing positions will be what it'll be tomorrow. Yang may well get another opportunity, and I'm a fan that time's running out for Yang. He'll need to start having more of an impact. He'll need to get goals or assists or something like that, and we'll see if that plays out. And I'd expect Maeda will take his normal position. But bigger picture stuff, Paddy, what do you foresee? I'm keen to hear the guys' comments as well in terms of the scoreline predictions, but what kind of scoreline do you think we'll see tomorrow and why?
Actually, talking about Yang just before I go into my scoreline, I think it might be a bit more suited for him tomorrow with the narrower park. I think he can be a little bit more dangerous in tighter positions. For me, I would say tomorrow, if we show up, and as I say, if we keep pressing that a little bit further in with the full 10 outfield players, I think it'll be too much. I'm going to go for 3-0 tomorrow, T.
3-0. I'd like to see that, Paddy. And the nil part is something that I find encouraging because, as I say, this clean sheet thing, it just gives you the platform, to allow your guys to go and do their thing. Yang, might as well stay on him. I was going to try and avoid him, but seeing as you brought it up, he continues to do all the tricky things. Miff talks about this. He does all the hard things. Takes the ball in tight areas, takes on his man, fast feet, athletic, powerful, all these things. But as a wide guy and any sort of forward, you will always be judged on your end product, your return. I'd actually like to see him, as you see in the tight park, coming in and having a couple of pops on goal. He comes into these really tight areas and tries to do the wee intricate 1-2s, and sometimes they come off and sometimes they break down. I'd like to see him just pull the trigger, see where it goes, because if he's got anything about him as a young guy, he'll know he's in, is it last chance saloon? Is that too dramatic? He's in something close to the last chance saloon, because the manager is keen to sign a winger at this moment in time, and that may well push him down the pecking order. Louis Palmer looks like he's going to Rio Vallecano on loan. That seems to be the rumour there. So he will need to produce. And, as I say, there's no better time than this tomorrow up at Dingwall. A couple of scorelines coming in. Paddy, you've gone 3-0. Gypsy King thinks we'll concede. So he's gone 3-1. Stevie Stafford, slightly less optimistic, but a comfy 2-0 for Stevie. San Fran, optimistic as always. I like it. 4-0. Eugene agrees with you. Eugene's gone 3-0 to start an 18-point gap at the weekend. Yeah, obviously, with the early kickoff. I'm being really honest. I don't even know who Rangers are playing this weekend, which tells you where you're at, Paddy. Because usually
St Johnstone,
St Johnstone at home, I presume. Because usually you'd be going, right, if we go to Dingwall and do this, then we go and do that. You just don't care because it's an irrelevance at this moment in time. But with it being the early kickoff, all going well, as Eugene says, Celtic could take the 18-point lead on the what's the date? On the 11th of January, which would be outrageous. Sean, just a couple of other scores. Sean has agreed with you, Paddy. 3-0 for Sean Boost. And final, Pat McLaughlin, 3-1. So, Paddy, a lot of confidence, and I think it's well placed. It's not outlandish to expect Celtic to go out there or up there to the Highlands and put in a professional performance and get the win that would see us head into this 18-point lead. So that's it, Paddy. As I say, we're heading up. We're going up there to embrace the cold and really looking forward to it and catching up with some guys up there. But your final thoughts ahead of the trip to the Highlands?
Yeah, looking forward to it. I think it'll be as I say, it's a difficult ground to go to. I think the players will just need to get used to the fact that it's going to be Baltic tomorrow. But I see a real hunger, and I see maybe things starting to settle down a little bit after what was a crazy result last week, all things considered. So I think keep the head down for the next couple of weeks. Keep doing what we're doing. Stay away from any of the noise that's happening with that lot across the water. And just start looking at that young boys game. I think that's so important for not just this team to progress, but for fans to really see what the manager is doing and what the manager has achieved so far in his second stint. So, it's exciting.
Yeah, it really is. And I think as much as the manager, as I say, his press conference is yet to come, it will be some point kind of mid-afternoon. He will tell us that it's all about, this one game at hand. But there's no doubt that he and his backroom staff will be planning ahead. We talk about sports science and the importance of the relevance or not in football at this moment in time. You've got to be careful how much info as a manager you take from the sports science team and how much as a manager you make the calls based on how the players are feeling and performing. But I think the signs are there that the side has been well managed, during this relentless schedule. As I say, we're 3 games into the January programme with 6 left to go. But I don't think there's any doubt, and it'd be foolish not to be planning ahead for the young boys game. And if that means a Nicolas Kuhn sits out tomorrow, a Cameron Carter-Vickers sits out tomorrow, or a Callum McGregor, then so be it. That's got to be the case. And, you might see a wee dip in quality, due to an inconsistency, but you might still go and win 2-0, which Celtic seem to be very capable of. So let's see where it goes, Paddy. Thanks to you, of course, for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you in the Highlands tomorrow, so that'll be great. Thanks to everyone who continues to join us in the live and the various comments that have come in. We'll be back likely on Sunday with the post-match for that one. So in the meantime, enjoy your weekend. Hopefully we see it as a Celtic weekend where we go 18 points clear, and we'll catch you on the other side. All the best, guys. We'll see you soon.